Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of Tarun's Thoughts. My name is Tarun Shetty. This is my bedroom. Hope everyone's having a good Monday. I feel pretty good. Tomorrow I'm gonna go to the doctor's office and get cleared to exercise, finally. So, I'm not really doing much aside from just hanging out, writing, and I think I told everyone here, I just got a theatrical agent this past year. I used to audition in my 20s, and then I just dropped everybody, and then I tried again a couple years ago, and the agent dropped me in less than 6 months. Basically, dropping means they were like, yeah, we can't do anything with you, and you're not booking work, so they got rid of me. And then I tried one last time, and this lady took me on, and I give her props because she was like, hey, look, a lot of people your age already have major credits behind them, but I'm just gonna roll the dice on you. So I've had a few auditions. I give it my best. Who knows? To show up, right? That's what I always tell people. But I thought I would tell the story about how I did this show called GRIMM on NBC. It's canceled now, but it's kind of an interesting story. It's almost like one of those stories where it's almost unbelievable, because I'll tell you exactly what happened. So I was working behind the scenes. I was trying to piece out. I was doing comedy at nights, making videos, but I wasn't auditioning because I was working a full-time job at this management company. And I was like a TV coordinator, which means I wasn't an assistant, I wasn't a manager, but I was right in between, which is a pretty busy job, right in between, because you have to do all the work pretty much. And some agent out of Portland called me, and she was like, hey, they're casting for the show called GRIMM on NBC for an Indian part. I saw your stuff online. I want to submit you. Take note, I auditioned for years. Pretty much when you audition, it's like throwing stuff into space. Sometimes you don't hear anything back at all for the most part. All the auditions I think I do great on, never hear anything. And the auditions which I think I bomb, I ended up booking, right? So of course I think I'm amazing, so I never book anything in my 20s. But anyway, so I was like, hey, I have a job, but it kind of interested me, just the part. It was a guest star, which means it wasn't a co-star, which no lines, and it wasn't the main star, but it was a guest star, which means you come in for the day, you have a sizable part, you do it, and you leave. So I put myself on tape. It was like a villain. I turned into a monster or whatever, and didn't think anything of it. And then I got a call, and they were like, the agent was like, oh, they like you. They want you to go in for the callback or something. Callback means going in person for the producers. And I was like, yeah, I can't do that. I can't do that. I have a full-time job. Sorry. And so they were like, okay. And then after that, I got another call a couple days later, and they were like, oh yeah, you booked the part. You're flying to Portland next week. And I was like, what? I didn't even I didn't even show up or anything. I just sent them a self-tape, which is basically you make it in your living room. Someone reads the lines, and that was it. So here I was, they were like, yeah, you got to shoot for a week in Portland. And I was like, oh man, I have a full-time job in Hollywood. So I couldn't tell my boss. He didn't even know I was an actor and knew I did comedy, right? So I was like, hey, I have this family emergency I have to disappear to. And so he was like, oh yeah, that's cool. He was a cool boss. Well, he was kind of a dick actually, but he let me go. And I flew to Portland, and I started shooting, right? And take note, it wasn't one or two lines. I was in a lot of scenes, right? Where I'd say, sometimes I didn't have a lot of dialogue, but I was still in the scenes. And my boss had just got rid of his assistant, so I was helping with the phone calls, and he was like, I need your help rolling these calls for me. And which means picking up the phone and dialing, for him. And I figured out how to do it on my cell phone and then patch him through. So I would use my phone to make calls to his contacts and then patch my boss through. Or my boss would be on the line too, and I'd dial for him. So I was doing this in Portland, right? Before we started shooting. And then he started calling me when we were on set, and I didn't know what to say. So I remember I was actually rolling calls for my boss. I was making phone calls for my boss while I was shooting GRIMM. Literally, while in between takes, I was dialing my boss's contacts, and then I'd put it on mute and put it in my pocket and go shoot the scene. So if you ever watched that episode, I think I'm a good actor because I think I pulled it off. I'm actually thinking in my head about my boss, about all the shit I was doing. I told a friend of this once. I've never been truly to just be there, right? To be able to focus on the acting scene whenever I shoot something major. Like when I did BobbyCon, like I was producing it. So all that stuff was going on in my head in the background, like, you know, locations, actors, lights, lighting, you know, 101 things I was thinking about. We had like no budget. When I shot that movie last year for DOE with Tatiana Ali and stuff, it was a feature movie. I got the dates screwed up, so I thought we were shooting like a month ahead, and they called me like the night before, and they were like, yeah, your call time's tomorrow at 7, and I was like, tomorrow at 7? I thought I had like 3 weeks, so I had to like memorize all my dialogue like the night before. It was like 10 pages of dialogue, so like when we showed up, I was trying to remember my lines during the scenes. That's why I keep looking at the clipboard. And then during the GRIMM thing, I'm calling these Hollywood executives between takes, like during the takes sometimes. So I've always told my friends, I was like, dude, I've never truly been able to just act when the cameras are rolling, right? You would just think like I'd have that ability. And I think maybe that's maybe a better actor because I can kind of pull it off now. Like I can kind of do it. I can act by myself if I need to. And I don't need to have the perfect copacetic environment to do a scene. Like I'm so used to like having all these distractions. And maybe that's just my path, right? It's made me who I am today. But I thought that was a really funny story because that GRIMM thing was like so random. How I even got through it, I have no idea. Sometimes I think like, I'm sure there are these life circumstances where you're like, I have no idea how I'm going to get through this. But you're just like, well, I guess I'm just going to find out. And I thought, well, if he fires me, he fires me. If he finds out, and he never found out. I always thought, like, what if my boss was like a huge fan of GRIMM or something and I didn't know about it? And like, he just turned on the TV and like, I'm on it. Like, what the hell? Like, how did this guy... The best thing about that show, though, was I got to meet the star of it. And he was living in Hollywood and he said he booked that show. And then he was like, yeah, and we shoot out here in Portland. And he bought a house in Portland and just packed up and left. So kind of just made me think about the transient nature of life, how you can just go anywhere like a nomad. So anyways, that's shooting GRIMM. If you're an actor, I'm sure you can relate to the craziness, or maybe you're not an actor. I think life's crazy in general. Have a good week. Talk to you guys soon. Take care.
I'll be here.
We needed a woman, now we have one. She's perfect.
You idiot! Didn't you see she's a police officer?
We'll cut up the car. They'll never find it or her. He's right. She's perfect.